The circumpunct is also representative of more esoteric concepts, including the self and the creative spark of pure divine consciousness within people, linking everyone to the creative mind of a universal God, thus making each person a co-creator of our reality. It also corresponds with the Keter, or the topmost Sephiroth of the Tree of Life in the Jewish mystical Kabbalah. It is considered so sublime that in their foundational work, the Zohar, it is called the most hidden of all hidden things. Besides ancient stories of civilizations having been established by dragon sky gods, the best evidence to prove that these ancient civilizations are all intimately linked to one common heritage comes through the insane amount of similarities and commonalities shared by all of them, including the fact that they all just started popping up out of nowhere at around the same time in Earth's history, all around the world, allegedly with absolutely no precedent, and then they each proceeded to develop virtually instant agriculture and built enormous megalithic structures, especially pyramids. Each had similar traditions of early history, including a Garden of Delight, a Golden Age, a global flood, one original language, and worldwide they shared similar systems of writing, languages, hieroglyphics, and symbols, including the swastika, a sun sign, as well as numerous specialized and intricate glyphs, especially snake and sun combinations. The serpent and the sun are two of the oldest and most widespread symbols used since ancient times. Serpent and sun worship both began at the same time in human history and were universal throughout all ancient cultures. In fact, these two symbols represent similar meanings, and every part of the ancient world was covered with temples sacred to both the dragon and the sun. In religion, mythology, and literature, serpents and sun...
See, I was at the chiropractor who apparently works with energy, and in the not treatment, yeah, I guess treatment, I saw this sign, this eye sign in my inner vision. It was like this, and it kept going like this, really big. And I saw that, this sign, it was just like the dollar sign. It appears in the dollar, just like that, but instead of like a pyramid first, it was just this sign. And I've seen it a couple of times mentally.
Suns represent a creative life force, spiritual wisdom, knowledge, power, energy, life, and healing. Actually, many mythologies from ancient traditions throughout the world identify the sun with the serpent as one single extremely powerful and benevolent life-giving force, the sun, which sends her loving serpent hands.
Yeah, I forgot how, but I remember my conclusion was one of God's eyes, if you will, just like Nityananda on earth, it comes from the sun. This is like main source, but there's no one. There's many suns. It's how he says it in the Bible. Omnipresent. There we go. Omnipresent. His presence. He appears every day. Gives out a large amount of energy.
Or energy rays to caress the earth and its inhabitants and to bless it all with life. The first symbols of serpents were attributed to Enki, the DNA manipulator, and fittingly his emblem was the entwined serpents or caduceus. The symbol of the caduceus was later transferred to one of Enki's counterparts, Ningishzida, also known as Thoth, author of the Emerald Tablets, and then to others of his family, because it was, among other things, a code for the bloodline of Enki's heritage. From this symbol of the serpent, the power was transferred to the symbol of the dragon, also a sun symbol, who continued to hold the knowledge. The archetype of the dragon has represented many different symbols.
I see so much symbology about the dragon. I was born in 1988. For those who don't know, that's one of the, because there's many, year of the dragon. 1988, look it up.
Symbolic meanings. Among these are power, strength, wisdom, knowledge, and energy, and transcendental consciousness. The dragon represents the universal energetic field as well as the unknown and hidden energy in man and nature. The word dragon comes from the Greek verb durkin, which means to see. The dragon is the principle of clear seeing, the ability to see things in a new light as they really are, beyond all illusions. For this reason, the dragon has great wisdom and power in myths. Ancient cultures also shared many other customs like mummification, burial, circumcision, and the binding of babies' heads to produce an elongated skull. This was deemed very attractive as well as a sign of intelligence and was practiced by the Maya, Incas, Celts, Egyptians, and Basques. They each also produce similar systems of government, societal rules, class distinction, and a pyramidal social hierarchy. On the top of the pyramid,
I think this video got edited again. 26.29, I just realized. Got edited again.
pyramid were their bloodlines, and on the bottom were the slaves, peasants, and undesirables. If there was any social mobility, it was downward. Similar versions of this hierarchy were developed by civilizations all over the ancient Near East, such as in Mesopotamia, Assyria, Babylon, Persia, and Egypt, as well as the Far East in China and India, in the Mesoamerican cultures of Mexico and Peru, and of course throughout the European empires. Now, the question is, who were these ancient rulers perched atop each of the pyramidal social hierarchies of antiquity? Well, available evidence shows that the ancient dragon bloodline royalty was primarily of Nordic Aryan stock. But who or what were the Nordic Aryans? Their name is derived from the Indo-European root word "air," meaning noble. So the word Aryan, depending on where you look, is translated of noble birth or honorable, respectable, noble. They called themselves the noble ones, or the superior ones. Aryans, or white people, are generally divided into three groups. These are the Mediterraneans, the Alpines, and
I keep seeing this area. I had a theory on how MS works, because I'm completely healthy. I got my veins, if you see them, they're like a feet long. And the bacteria comes from here. Sweden is to the north. I think I was here. Wow, I was in this area, Sweden. That's where most cases of MS happens. And then here is Germany. And in this part, it says Africa. Yeah, it's the whole thing. In Africa, right here, in this area right here, it's where Hitler's headquarters were. So what I concluded was, here in Russia, they added the bacteria in the water supply. And it comes from here. It needs the cold to live. This whole area is cold. So it survives in the water, and the lack of oxygen consumes lactose. Lactose is the main form of communication inside the human body. So you have a bacteria, a parasite if you will, that consumes lactose. It's going to be harder for you to think. Why is that relevant? Because this guy in Russia, what the hell is Russia? I can't see it. Right away. The guy in Russia here to the right side used it, Stalin, 1921 was it? I think it was 1921. I could be wrong. 1921. He uses it to his civilization. This guy, this genius, Hitler, uses it too on its population. The reason why this is important is because it needs water. They put it on the water supply, right? It's a biological weapon with thermocytogens, it's called. They use it, and the wasted water ends up here in this body of water. Same goes for here. Aqueduct, water. All the water waste ends up here. Same goes here. All the water waste ends up here. In Sweden, what happens to the water waste? It ends up here. All of it. In Puerto Rico, it's the same. The government is too corrupt. The only reason it would be able to survive in Puerto Rico would be that it's used on the population of Puerto Rico. It survives on the U.S. on the north part mainly, and in the aqueduct. Well, either way.
the Nordics. Nordics, recognizable by their tallness, light hair and eye color, and long skull, are the ones that most people are talking about when they speak of the archetypal Aryans. But there are also several different Nordic subtypes. The Borrby type, which have large square heads, brown or blonde hair, and light, mainly blue eyes. and the Bruns, who are also big-headed, but with frequent red-headedness and prominence of darker shades of brown with minimal blondism. But the Hallstatt Nordic is your stereotypical Aryan, being ash blonde, blue-eyed, tall and slender, straight and narrow-nosed, and relatively long-headed. Throughout history, the Nordic Aryans seemed to be the real movers and shakers, and definitely the ones to watch. They were a tough, tribal, and nomadic peoples who were fierce and warlike, and their religion reflected this, dominated as it was by a sky god that enjoins warfare and conquest, commonly known as Zeus. For thousands of years, this race of warriors, sailors, pioneers, and explorers have poured forth from their Northland homes in conquering waves over Europe and many parts of Asia, sometimes conquering peoples vastly superior in numbers by their fierce energy, and then establishing themselves as their aristocratic ruling class, and then perpetuating their rule with their political ability. You see, the Nordic is at once democratic and aristocratic. Among his own kind, he is democratic, profoundly individualistic and touchy about his personal rights. Neither he nor his fellows will tolerate tyranny, but wherever the Nordic establishes himself among other races, he is extremely aristocratic. Feeling himself the ruler and the superior, he prides himself on his...
Again, why added that? Are you saying Hitler? That the reason why? Are you saying Hitler was an aristocrat because he's part of that race? Because it's the only thing that makes sense. And it will make sense, like, I have the same personality as Hitler. He died of the same thing I have, MS, the bacteria that causes MS. It's the lactose in your body. And you can't think straight. Sadly, I have a logical mind, and I can think. I don't need too much lactose, it seems. Well, very bad.